Hey everybody, it's Always Bookin Comedy. It's another Monday night. We're doing this time with Jeff Stonic from Denver, Colorado. How are you, Jeff?
I'm well, Mark. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to talk to you because you run so many things and do so much, and like your photography, and you have a lot going on. So Jeff's a very funny comedian. He's part of a group of comedians called Dead Room Comedy. He's
Yeah.
a photographer, videographer, jack of all trades. I don't know. What do you want to talk about first? What's on your mind? What's something interesting?
What's on my mind was as I was logging into this was like, boy, this feels like my Zoom therapy. Because I sit in this chair and I hit a little login thing. I'm like, these are the same steps.
That's so
Um,
funny.
so yeah,
Um,
if I can get the same results at the end of this that I do there.
yeah, it's gonna be cathartic, and we're gonna make some breakthroughs today, Jeff.
Good.
So I don't know. Let's go back. Like I'm interested in show running,
Hmm.
and you run a ton of shows. You had a hilarious situation once. Can we talk about that time you showed up to a venue and there was something on the door?
Yeah, I
Or is,
mean,
or is that in legal limbo or something? Why don't you tell that story? Because that's a good one.
yeah, I don't think there's any legal limbo.
Okay.
At least as far as my ass on the line or whatever, because I was running a show at a venue and they were it was I'll just say like they're very enthusiastic from the get-go. I started running a monthly show there. It would have been over a year, like 15 months ago now, in May of 2022. And then I just had a priority that I wanted a weekly show. That was a goal of mine. I wanted a weekly show. And
Can I pause you there? Why would a comic want a weekly show? Sounds like a headache to me. What was in your head?
right, it was a headache. But my head was I wanted to be able to make a little more money myself.
Okay.
I wanted to I wanted to have a space where I could give more opportunities to A, locals, and also B, people that were coming into town.
Okay.
Um, and I wanted to like there's a handful of people in the scene, in the Denver scene specifically, that have there's a nice lineage, tradition, and a present environment of like good show running that provides opportunities and keeps the scene thriving and growing. Um,
Okay.
and
Those are good
I
reasons.
wanted to be like them, you know. I wanted to do what they do.
Okay. So you
And
made it happen. You converted it to a weekly.
yeah, yeah. And then
It's a cool show. Just a side note. Great venue. Like go down into a basement. Like quirky, fun.
yeah, it was perfect. Like it's because it was like a room separate from the bar. You can close the doors, cocktails, brick wall, yeah, everything, low ceilings. And they were very on board. And right away we agreed on a budget. And I should have known the writing was on the wall when I pitched them, and they're like, "Well, how much would you like a week?" And because money's kind of tight right now. And I was like, "Okay, well, how about this?" And they're like, "Oh yeah, we can do that. Yeah, for sure." And so I was like, "All right, okay." And then for a while, it was payment every Wednesday, and then it was every 2 weeks, and then once a month. And um, yeah, I think I went like 2 months at some point without getting paid by them, and I was still getting tips because it was a free show, and so I'd like put out a tip bucket. I was taking a little bit of a loss, and then they paid me all at once, and I was like, okay, I guess this is just going to be a thing here. I'm not going to expect differently. And then it was like, yeah, it was a crazy amount of time, and then I messaged one of the bartenders. I'm like, hey, just a heads up, I think this is going to be the last week, and I can't, I'm ready to move on and not have this headache. And he's like, well, I mean, I don't know if tonight, I think last week might have been the last week. I don't know. Because he's like, some other guy that works there, he's like, he went over last night and there's some like, the locks were changed and there's a bunch of shit on the door. I was like, what? And I just got in my car and I drove there in the afternoon and just said that, yeah, the city of Denver has seized Lucy's Shambles and Provisions. And I was like, okay, this is great.
You had a show that night scheduled, right?
Yeah, that night.
I feel like you had somebody big booked as well.
And yeah, Adam Caden Holland. I was like, I want to, Mr. Standard setter here in Denver.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was like one of the primary motivations to fucking get to April or May 5th, I think it was.
Yeah.
Like I was like, I'll just get to May 5th, be able to pay Adam to do comedy, whatever, and then I'll call it quits.
And they beat you to it.
They beat me to it. And you know what? Weirdly, I was like, okay, I'm never getting my money back. Maybe I could do a small thing. Whatever. I moved on. And then there was like it was a husband and wife, and the husband called me randomly in like late June or July even. It was July, middle of July, 2 months later. And he's like, "Hey, Jeff." I hadn't heard from them at all. And they would never talk to me like in the last 2 months, whatever. And he's like, "I think we'll be able to pay you today." I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "Yeah, that's crazy ending." And I was like, "Boy, these two are just they got a lot going on in their lives." And they have no concept of time or what they've done,
Yeah.
And I was like, "All right, yeah." He's like, "Okay, well, yeah, I'll talk to, and we'll get you paid this afternoon." And I was like, "Okay." And he's like, "If we get this, if things work out, we're really going to be able to get the restaurant back, and we'd love to keep working with you." And I was like, "Yeah, I'll look for that this afternoon. Thank you." And I just, that was it. I never got paid.
Oh,
It's fine.
yeah.
It's what it is. So
You
that
gotta
was
roll the dice sometimes with venues and take some risks. I feel like I've had kind of
Yeah.
similar stuff.
Yeah. And so when you lead off with you run so many shows, I'm like, right now I feel like I'm in my hibernation period because it's
Oh, okay.
After that I kind of stopped. But at the same time, I've continued to run I have a weekly open mic that's becoming a show this Sunday.
Oh, cool.
So
Is
it'll
it gonna be like Mike and then show or
inverse. So show
inverse?
that
Okay, cool. Nice.
Yeah, that was the venue's idea, and just to build out the night a little more, and I'm game for it. And so all of a sudden, the weekly show environment's back, and then the Dead Room I have, which is a once a month, but at the peak in like January or December, it was Lucy's once a week, the open mic once a week. It was the Dead Room. It was the Dead Room was at 2 locations, so it was twice a month, and then it was the By Agenda, and so that was 13 shows a month, and that was insane.
Double digits. That is crazy. That's wild. Did you feel like that now that you are like in your hibernation period, as you called it? How would you compare your comedy? Like, do you feel like it's better when you're running less shows, or are you sharper when you're running a lot of shows? Like, what's the plus and minus of that?
Yeah, it's different because it's when I'm running the show, I hardly ever think about the set ahead of it because there's so many moving pieces to think about, and there's a certain costume or mask that you wear, in the performing piece of it, where it's like, I'm host Jeff tonight. I'm everyone having a good time. Here's some jokes, easy to laugh at. I'm gonna let all the comics I've brought on the stage do the work for you. I'm gonna get you laughing and do that. I feel like as you can take a little more different risks and make different choices if the crowd's going or whatever, and then you're booked to perform there. So I feel like the different parts are sharper or duller. And also I've continued to host with, I work with Jesse Carter with Comic Sense. And so I'm there at least once a week, and since last November. And so that side's kept me sharp for sure. But I feel like the performing aspect, it continues to grow no matter what. Yeah.
Nice.
Because I'm right after this, I'm gonna go to 2 open mics, and I still try to keep those part of it. And I don't write nearly as much as the peers I admire, but it continues to move.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you already mentioned one of these, but can you talk about a booking win for your shows where you were like really excited to book somebody? Like it sounds like ACH was one.
Yeah.
Different.
I think that makes me, I guess the big one was just the fact that it took like 6 months, but all of a sudden word of mouth was there, that I had a good show, and so when a comic was coming to town, I would be one of the people they went to look to have a quality time in Denver, and that was nice. And then I started to work with I communicated with Ratio, who's the other weekly show, or Kelsey Rosen, who's running Uncorked now, and yeah, so it was a nice little like, hey, they'll open here because they're headlining for you. Yeah, no worries. And then, or vice versa. And yeah.
Was there a name in particular or somebody who surprised you?
I was trying to think of the name in particular, and it's probably disrespectful to at least one person, but no one really stands out. But like the year prior, I remember before I started Lucy's,
Yeah.
Sam T had like messaged me. I was driving in Utah saying, "Hey, can I do 5 minutes on the Buy Agenda tonight?"
Right.
And that was fun because that was like a year prior and a year less experience under the belt.
Yeah, that's huge. Sam Talent, by the way, now headlining the Mothership in Austin and got his big book, and he's a huge deal now. So that's one that will continue to be an exciting one.
Yeah.
How about as a comic yourself? Is there a festival or a show that asked you to do time that really gave you a thrill and was exciting?
Yeah. I think it was fun in June. I did like a first weekend of up in Steamboat. It was the first time
Cool.
on back-to-back nights of headlining a show, and that was fun.
That's awesome. Shout out to Kyle Ruff.
Kyle Ruff. Yeah, and I'd been up there like a year and a half prior, opening for Georgia with Austin Black. Georgia Comstock and Austin and I were opening for Georgia. So I knew Kyle there, and I met Kyle a couple of other times, and yeah, and so that was a nice thing. And
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, it's just been in this year, I think 2 or 3 times a month now I've been able to close out a show, and so that's been fun to start doing longer sets. Last night I did the longest set I've done on a show, and it feels good, and it feels like it keeps getting better. So
that's awesome. Hey, tell us about the show. How much time was it? Where was it?
Last night was it was at the Oscar Blues in this Colorado Springs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was 40 minutes
with Jason.
Yes,
he's the guest next week.
As I heard. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Tune in next week, everybody, to hear from the booker who booked Jeff Stonic.
Yes, and he'll be like, "Man, my booking's really shitty," but he's like, "Man, I used to do it well."
How much time did you do?
I did 40, I think, because based on my camera, and which, sorry, Jason, I know, because I was booked for 40, and then he's like, "Hey, could you actually do 35 because of the time?" But they were having fun. What could I do? Not could we? Yeah. So it was a good time.
That's awesome.
It was a lot of fun.
When you headlined in Steamboat, or like when you're a headliner, do you take photos during other people's sets, or do you?
I try to. Yeah. So like last night specifically, I was he had booked me, and then he found out via Russell Keller, because I'd made a video for Russell's show, and he's like, "Hey, Russell said could you make while you're down here?" And so yeah, that was getting establishing shots in the beginning, letting people do their thing, maybe get a little stuff. It was fun. During my set, I had my camera going off to the side, to the right, like stage right, and I was like, "Let's do this" in the middle of the thing, like, "Hey guys, I know I said I'm unemployed, but I also make videos, explain the context. I'm like, would anyone like to make it a moment in the video pop? would anyone like to just laugh? I can get this lens right up close to you, and you just do a really big laugh, because otherwise I have to hide in the side of the room. And some girl named Emma was down to do a big laugh, and it was because so I said something, and the camera's right on her like this, and she goes, ah! She just starts laughing, and then everyone behind her laughs at her laughing, and then so it was a good moment that'll look great on camera.
That's awesome,
but it's very contrived.
So I'd love to dig into the photo stuff.
Yeah.
Like, were you a photographer or videographer before you got into comedy? What gave you the idea to do it? And what have been some good things you've done that you feel like were good investments, or like, how did you get so good? I'll just, for everybody who's listening or watching, like, Jeff is a very accomplished photographer at this point. I don't know if he always was, but I've had people come to me and say, like, see my picture on a poster and be like, oh, that's a Jeff Stonic.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Thanks. Yeah. No, it's been fun. And I just think the comedy community has horrible taste. No, it's been nice to hear that. I've always done video work. Ever since I was a kid, I still have like the Sony Handycam that my mom and dad gave me when I was younger. So I was playing with that, and made videos all throughout high school and college. And I think I started making stuff for Dead Room, for the group that I'm a part of, and then that led to getting little work here and there. So the video I've always felt confident about. The photography, I started a year ago, like pretty seriously a year ago, because I'm right now, like this time of year, I'm at the anniversary where it's been 2 years since I've been employed by like a boss. I was working for Costco, and I was getting paid for some video work, but I'm like, that's not sustainable, because once the showrunner has their video, they don't need a new one. What do I do? And so I was like, I'll use this camera I have.
Can I interject?
Yeah.
You just hope for those venues to go out of business, which happens at a pretty regular clip.
So true. Yeah. Hey, you need new visuals, right? I mean, because you're not performing there anymore. Yeah, it's very true. And so it's like, I'm at every night, if I'm already there at an open mic practicing comedy, I could be practicing photography too. It also came on the heels of I stopped smoking weed last year, so I'm like, I got to do something with my hands. I can't just stand here. And so I just started taking photos. And working in the environment and in spaces, and sometimes side by side, like at last year's High Plains, where someone like Melissa out of Fort Collins or Nick here in Denver, that professional photographers, like it was clear with the technology I had that I had a ceiling, and they could operate on a couple floors above, because my camera was like 10 years old. And then out of the blue, it was really out of the blue, Jesse Carter said, hey, you got time for a call? And then he pitched me on this vision for Comic Sense. And I was just like, okay, like working for him every year or every week and filming from the angle, like from two angles. I was like, well, I have 4K with my phone, but then this camera I have is really old. I've been wanting to buy a new camera. How do you feel about paying me in advance for 6 to 8 weeks with this budget you said you built up? And he agreed, and I was able to get the camera, and things have slowly snowballed to where I started working for him. He had like 80 followers on his Instagram, and now we're at 12K, and it's going to continue to grow, I think. And now I got 2 Sony cameras where I can shoot from 2 angles, beautiful definition. And yeah, it's just all been like trusting the gut and instincts and letting it grow. And I will say too, like, I'm a year into photography, and I get a lot of compliments and stuff, and I'm obsessive with it. I do it constantly. Where the fact that if I'm not, I know I have some projects right now on my to-do list that it's work for other people, like video work or roast battle reels or whatever. But I'd rather be like walking around outside and just taking photos, and I'll do that. I'll make time for that, and I'll watch YouTube videos and stuff. It's all like YouTube. or there's a bunch of photography books I now have, and so.
Can you talk? So you said you have Sony cameras. Do you have a favorite lens, and what kind of software do you use for your editing?
Yeah. So I got two Sony cameras. The lens, I mean, I really like a lens that's not really helpful for comedy, but also this is the second time someone's asked me what's my favorite lens today, and it has been a year. I don't know. I never get asked. I have a 135 millimeter lens, and it's like a beast of it's right here. It's so big, and it's it's a prime lens, so it doesn't zoom at all, but it's just beautiful. And like the bokeh, which is like lights, like blurred out lights in the background. I don't know.
Yeah, what's the little number? Is it like a 1.2?
Yeah, it's 1.8.
Nice.
Yeah, so really good in low light.
Nice.
Which
big glass, as they say.
Big glass. And then I just got this little guy now, which I'm excited about. And it's a 35-2, but it's a Summicron Leica lens, and this is a film camera I just got, and I'm excited.
Wow.
I got it last week, and so I'm excited to bust it out. A really cool moment that happened last week where I went to buy darkroom material to start developing my own film. Because if I call myself a photographer, what I really am right now is a digital image creator. I don't actually do photography now, so I want to be able to, like, with my hands, take this and then over some years, I know it's going to take time, but I want to eventually be able to make an image that you can put on a wall.
Yeah, it's like, man, I'm so old that's when I was in like high school. We had a dark room in high school, and I would develop. It was cool. Yeah. It's like magic. It's like a witchcraft. It's
wild. Yes. And I'm so I marvel at the process, and I'm so scared to start it because I know I could fuck up right away and lose a whole roll, but whatever. It's worth it to learn. And so I was explaining this to someone, and as I was buying a few things, I wasn't buying everything I'd ever need for a darkroom. And he's like, "So you really want to do that? You really want to do the darkroom long term?" I was like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Yes, that's the direction I'm going, but I don't need to jump in with the investments today." And he's like, "There's this gentleman named Harold who worked at Denver Pro Photo," and he's like, "Well, I had a old friend photographer come in last week, and he donated all of his equipment from his darkroom that he needs, and he's like, just give it to the right person." And he's like, "And I think you might be the right person." And I was like, "Oh my," I was like, "Okay, very cool." And I considered it, thought about it, and I did feel right. I think I will definitely treat his equipment right and stuff. So now I have a whole darkroom material sitting right there, and I'm just like I'm a few restful nights away from asking Lisa Lane to use the RV she has now in the back of her yard and just sealing it up like a crime scene and digging into some film.
That's amazing.
I'm excited.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Software real quick. What kind of software are you using?
Yeah, right now Premiere Pro for video and Lightroom for Adobe.
Nice.
For both Adobe. Yeah.
Cool. So let's go back to show running. What do you think when you're going around looking for venues? What do you like in a room?
Yeah, if it's separate, if you go there during peak hours and you can imagine it, a scenario where it's quiet and focused on comedy is great. You can't really walk into a venue and pick up on this now, just by sitting in there and looking around. But with Hotel Boulderado, license number 1 with Jesse's show, the staff is so on board with what we're doing for comedy. And Jesse is he's got a great vision, and he pitched it so well, because there was this room in Boulder where there was a pool table, and now it's our very tight, intimate comedy show. But to get that pool table out, he pitched the venue and said, "I can make you more money than that pool table can." And what a brilliant little business pitch. And he's right. And the venue sees that, and the venue sees how hard he's working, and so the staff's super on board. Anything like that, yeah. Yeah.
That's cool. What
You
happened
wanna
to the pool
play
table?
I don't know. Some people still walk in and they're like, "Then there used to be a pool table here." I'm like, "Yeah, we do comedy now." Like, oh, it's like, yeah, we found a space where we can nurture our careers and make people laugh. And like, oh, fucking
Yeah.
play pool.
You got any good road stories?
I'm at this point, I'm kind of sick of it, but because just they do a lot over the summer and it's fun, and I just sleep in the back of my car.
Oh,
Uh,
tell me about that. I'm a big back of the car sleeper. Like, do you block out your windows?
Sometimes, usually I do if I'm like, but sometimes I'm so tired and I finally find a spot where I think I'm like I could get away with sleeping here for 6 to 8 hours,
Yeah.
and then I just kind of crawl in the back and whatever.
Do you have like
Um,
any kind of mattress, or you just like on the floor of the car?
yeah, so I have a CRV, and the seats are flat in the back, and I have a twin mattress kind of folded up, and or like it lays mostly flat and then comes up a little bit by the front seats,
Yeah.
and it's like a natural pillow. So, um, yeah, I'll just crawl in the back. And a fun road story was last week or 2 weeks ago now on a Monday. So yeah, 2 weeks ago, I was going to sell pins near Seattle, and I was like, I'm close to Canada, and I got my license renewed, my passport, I guess, my passport renewed this year. Why don't I just go to Canada? So I had it with me, and I was just like, I went up to the border, and I was like, and I explained to him, and you're just going in for what 12 hours a day, and I'm like, yeah, I think so. I just want to, I don't know, and go to Canada, and I started driving, and it said like go 80 kilometers, and I was like, oh fuck, I don't. So I just started going 15 miles per hour, just like trying to figure out, and I was like looking at my phone, and no service, no service. You're in Canada now, you can't use your phone, and I went to a gas station, and I was asking everyone around me, I was like, hey, do you happen to know just like close to like what's 80 kilometers in miles per hour? Yeah, no, sorry, whatever the thing. And then finally some guy's like, well, doesn't your speedometer
Yeah.
have the little kilometers on the inside? I was like, yeah. And I like went to look at it, and I knew the moment he said it, I'm like, yeah, of course it fucking does. I've
Like
seen that.
or something. It's like a darker color. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And so that was a little moment. I'm like, just consider where you're going before you start going there. Maybe a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, that's so funny. That's
Yeah.
great. Um, well, anything else you want to talk about? Show running, comedy, your group.
No, I'm excited for. There's a bunch of new showrunners that are doing their thing. I'm still very new to the game, but like, I some people say, keep what you've learned and about show running close to the chest, because it's like you don't want to oversaturate your scene, or you don't want to do that. Clearly, I imagine the spirit behind this show is akin to what I stick to motto wise and belief wise. Is just like share what we know and we can grow together, and it's helping and it's happening and it's cool.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is, you could call them trade secrets or something, but I'm
Yeah,
always trying to help newer showrunners, because the people who go to their shows, someday they may come to my show.
yeah,
And the worst case scenario is if somebody runs a bad show, if they're not good at lighting or picking a good room or working
yeah.
with a good staff, as you mentioned, all kinds of venue selection stuff, then the people might go to a bad show and they might never go to another an indie live comedy show. And
Very
so
much.
a rising tide lifts all boats. And
Yeah.
all right, we got some, you're very active. You got a bunch of comments. Let's see. You did 36 minutes apparently down in,
36.
yeah, nice
Just give me
job.
the 40, Jason. Jesus Christ, give me the 40.
You guys see a lot more what happening in the Colorado scene, being in Denver, from booking and watching shows. Who do you see that you think is ready to take off? Oh, Jason wants us to have some enemies.
What?
Basically, who's an up and comer? What comics do people not know in the Denver scene that are about to take off? I mean, it's cheating, but Salma Zaki, she's about to move to New York City. I mean, she's terrific.
Salma.
Like a lower. I just had a guy. This is super random. If you have one, shout it out. David Cisneros. Have you heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
He was on my new talent night the other night, and I thought he was terrific. I'd never seen him before, and
Yeah.
supernatural and seem good.
Yeah. Oh, gosh, I don't have a answer queued up right away. I mean, Alec Flynn just moved to moved to LA.
Yeah.
Very happy for him. Very and yeah, that's a stock that'll keep rising.
Yeah.
And Elon Stribling, because
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
he's very funny and multiple and hardworking in multiple different ways. And boy, he's got a really good guy behind the camera now making comedians on the fly. And
Oh, are you part of that?
yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's cool. Nice.
that's
So you
fun.
go off to the fly fishing adventures wherever they are?
So far, they've all been local, the ones I've done. They've
Okay.
been in Deckers or up near Estes Park. And
Okay.
yeah, bringing the cameras like literally into the water and holding them on the head. And then
That's cool, man. That's good experience.
that's fun.
All right, we got some other comments. So let's just run through this real quick. Is show running more competitive than getting stage time? You go first.
Is show running more competitive than getting stage time? I guess there's a little more about it that's in your control. If you're show running, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would say absolutely not. Getting stage time is way more competitive.
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you, like I sometimes have trouble booking females or
Yeah.
certain demographics
Yeah.
as a showrunner, so that feels competitive. Like I reach out to somebody and they're like, "Oh, I'm already booked. Oh, I'm already booked." And you go through like 5 women, and it's like, "Gosh, this is tough for this particular night."
Yeah.
But I run a lot of midweek shows, so I think weekend shows see that more. But I think getting stage time is way more difficult than anything show.
Yeah.
is.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with that.
All right. And that's about it, dude. We got to wrap this up. How do people find you, Jeff Stonic? You're a fountain of good knowledge and wisdom.
Yeah, thanks. It's that Instagram is what I'm most active on. By that I mean posting and just like scrolling mindlessly when I ever need to turn the brain off. It's at Jeff and Tonic, like gin and tonic.
Nice.
But yeah, Jeff and Tonic.
All right, everybody, check out Jeff Stonic. Come back next week. We got Jason on and every Monday. Check out Always Bookin Comedy. We're going to shut this down now. Thanks for